Okay, welcome everyone. This is the March 17th IDA, Seneca County IDA Board meeting. We are going to start with the approval of the minutes of the last meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
There's a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the minutes have passed. Number 2, a discussion on Gould's pumps.
Yes, so Jay, you still there on the phone?
I'm still here, yep.
Okay, hopefully everybody can hear him. So Jay is on the phone, he's representing the company today, and Jay, I'm just gonna turn it over to you to talk about the project. The board's all looked, or had a chance to look at the application, and they have it in front of them. But if you wouldn't mind kind of giving us a brief overview.
Can you also, Jay, can you introduce yourself to the group here, because I don't know that any of us have met.
Yes, sir, of course. My name is Jay Patel, represent IDC Pumps. I apologize for not being there in person. The meeting was scheduled for next week, which I had planned to be there, but this wedding was scheduled so heavily a conference this week, so my sincere apologies on that. But yeah, thank everyone for their time and giving me a chance to speak today. So project for ITC Gould Pumps, just as kind of an overview, the company itself is looking to kind of revamp their operations in New York, and obviously the New York operations consist of Orchard Park, Syracuse, and of course Seneca County, where SFO as the operations are called. And what the company is trying to do is revamp its production process, upgrade machinery, equipment, and manufacturing side, and furniture and fixtures. Ultimately with the goal of creating a more efficient production process, just to kind of meet the future production volume that the company sees, just because they're now more and more becoming more global competitive on their products globally and domestically as well, so that they're trying to maintain that efficiency for their customers and they can meet greater demand. So the project itself has received support from the state of New York via an executive program, and today we're graciously requesting support from the county via the IDA for sales and use tax exemption on furniture, fixtures, and equipment that the company will also be spending over the next 5 years.
Can you say something about the support the state has given to Gould's pumps, just so that everyone in the room knows just kind of what the scale and the magnitude of the backing is for Gould's?
Sure. So the state has approved just over $3 million in incentives for all 3 locations: Seneca Falls, Orchard Park, and Syracuse, and that's because that's where the investment is going. And I believe at Seneca Falls, they will be investing over roughly $60 million over the next 5 years in upgrades at the facility. And again, that's going to consist of manufacturing equipment upgrades and then non-manufacturing equipment.
So the state's commitment to the company is about $3 million.
Correct, and that's predicated on jobs, investment, and R&D. That's the incentive is made up of those 3.
Okay, thanks.
Of course.
So, and just to kind of summarize what was in the application for everybody, the company is coming to the IDA. There is about $6.2 million in furniture, fixtures, and equipment that they are seeking sales and use tax exemption on. So the value of that exemption is around, hold on, let me grab the actual number for everybody. Yes, thank you, $496,000, so that's over a 5-year period. The company is, planning to retain 619.5 full-time equivalent employees and commits to adding, our application only goes out 3 years on the job, so it's 27 new jobs over 3 years, but their cover letter indicated for the whole 5-year period where they were hoping to add 45 heads. So that's what we have as of right now in terms of the application. If everybody, feels comfortable moving ahead today on the inducement resolution, we will end up needing to schedule a public hearing for this because the total exemptions are over 100,000, which means that we'll be doing a cost benefit analysis and a public hearing before coming back to the board for final approval.
So how many of the 27 jobs over the 3 years are in Seneca Falls?
This is all Seneca Falls
This
on
is
the
all
application,
Seneca Falls.
yes.
Okay.
And does our agreement here give us the option to audit that?
Yes. So like any other IDA project, for the duration of the project, the company must submit annual reports, which we have to then post to the state public authorities reporting information system, which means for every year of this 5 that they would be getting the exemption, they would be having to report their job numbers and have to remain in compliance with that.
And Jay, just again, for the benefit of everyone here, you're an attorney representing Gould's with a different firm, or are you in-house with Gould's?
I'm a consulting firm, and we represent IDC Gould.
And what is the name of that consulting firm?
Sure, Ryan LC.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
So you're retained by Gould's to apply for and secure these kinds of incentives?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Got it. Any questions for Mr. Patel? We don't have any questions for you, Jay. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Of course, no worries. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So, we have this on our agenda here. So the motion would be to proceed with the inducement resolution. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the inducement resolution essentially says we are in support of moving this forward one more step to a public hearing. Would anyone like to make a motion to adopt this resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Jeff, thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
My own comment would be, this is an important adventure, and we need to go forward.
You've been on this topic before, Bob, and
Yeah.
I'm glad you feel you support it. And any further discussion?
I was just inquiring, wasn't it just a short period ago that they announced that they were, what was the word, Sarah, they were restructuring or something like that, and there would be people let go or moved or something to that effect?
I think it was about a year ago
The
Okay.
foundry,
now
it was
that
a
they
foundry.
closed the foundry at
Right.
ITT Gould's and offered the employees that were working in the foundry other opportunities within the company. I am almost 100% certain that not everybody relocated to a new position within the company. One thing I will say, so we actually do still have a pilot agreement with Gould's from back when they built their Cobalt building in 2008, I think it was, right, Kelly? Something like that.
Yeah.
So they've been reporting to us every year. The thing about that particular project is that was in the days before IDA recapture provisions. So despite, they've had declining employment basically since then. And despite that, we've never really been able to do anything about it. One thing about this application is, we now have recapture provisions as sort of a default in all of our project documents, which means that they will have to report and they will have to be in compliance. Otherwise, it will come before this board to decide whether or not action needs to be taken.
Do you know how long that original from 2008 pilot goes until? Is it a standard 15-year pilot?
I think it was 20.
It must be 20,
Okay.
out till 2028.
I think it was
or so.
2010 when it opened. I believe.
Okay. So, yeah, we're still going for another probably 3 to 5 years.
So they'll have 2 open for the rest of that one and then this new one. Gotcha.
Further discussion? Anyone else? All right, shall we vote? This is a roll call vote.
Mr. Guthrie,
Yes.
Mr. Kier,
Yes.
Mr. Bruce Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Mr. Lot,
Yes.
Ms. Weiss,
Yes.
Mr. Tom Murray, Mr. Brownell, Mrs. Capelli, absent, motion carried.
Okay, on to the next one.
All right, Jay, I'll follow up with details on the public hearing. Thanks for joining us.
Of course, yes, thank you very much for your time.
Where will you hold the public hearing?
It'll have to be in Seneca Falls.
We
We
can
probably
hold it
will hold
here.
it here, honestly. Saves us the hassle of securing space in the town office building for a hearing.
I agree.
Okay, next item is Mayberry Farms.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna turn it over to the Mayberries. They've come to us, I guess just as a little bit of background, so you all remember in I think it was 2023, because we were awarded in 24. In 2023, the IDA submitted an application to New York State Department of Transportation for a program that's known as the Passenger Freight Rail Assistance Program. This was for rail upgrades at the former Seneca Army Depot for Earl Martin. So the Mayberries are wanting to apply for the same program for their own project and is asking the IDA to submit the application on their behalf. So I'll turn it over to you guys to talk a little bit about what you've been up to.
So we're excuse me, in the process of building a soybean roasting facility at this site. And that's phase one. Phase two was to put in rail siding to load and offload grain, feed, and fertilizer. So this was brought to me that there was the state grant that was available, and we were interested in applying for it. And we were told we had to come to you guys to get the support for it, to apply for the grant.
Does that include new scales? You had said in there that you had, the truck
So
was.
there'll be scales there
Oh,
from the project we started already.
okay.
Can you say a little bit more about this project? I know it's been pretty widely discussed, I think. You've gone before the town.
Yeah.
And can you just say a little bit about what the project is, how the town and you came out in those discussions?
Yeah, and how long is this spur?
It's a 3-track system. The longest one is 1,600 feet. To get back to your question, we got the permits from the town to go forward. Since we've gotten that, we haven't heard anything from the town.
So just by virtue of the town giving you the green light on this construction, you've got sort of the local blessing of the folks there. And can you say, again, I'm not familiar with grain drying operations. How big an expansion is this, and
So the rail part of it is gonna cover from each end of the property I own, which is approximately 1,800 feet. It's gonna, I don't know how to explain this, but it's gonna be a 3-track system with switches to get to each track, and then CompuWay system to load stuff, and then 2 or 3 pits to unload rail cars to transfer onto trucks.
Currently, we're loading and offloading rail cars across from Seneca Meadows landfill. And we can only do it when weather permits, because when we're offloading fertilizer, the wind can't be blowing, or we're spreading fertilizer all over the place. It's gonna be contained on 5 and 20, that's what the goal is, to move it, so we can have it behind the facility we're already building, and be able to offload product and load product there in inclement weather.
In a contained system where environmental factors can't cause it to blow away or wash away.
And you connect to the Finger Lakes rail system.
And where is it on 5 and 20?
Right across from the Inland Harbor Marina.
Oh, okay.
You can see the grain bins now in a couple of the buildings.
I saw the crane there the other day.
Paved driveway, they have the Ys going into it. You can't see a lot from the road because it's sort of a knoll along it, so that helps protect them some. They're just west of liquid products, it's already getting
Yeah.
liquid fertilizer in there. So, and it's something that we need in Seneca County because right now we're growing now a new type of soybean called a plenish soybean, and Bayer will have a variety too in a couple of years, Vista Gould. So these beans can be roasted, and Bruce is gonna put in a facility to roast them. And I think they're gonna go to a lot of the dairies within this county because it can make a huge difference to the butter fat coming out of the milk from the cows. And it's something that's developed, I think these beans have been on the market for about 10 years. And they just figured out in the last year or so that roasting these beans is the best way to handle them. It gives the cows the best results from it, and it's just an all-around win for the dairy farmers. So to have a facility in the county is gonna be really good. We have the portable roasters now that are going around, but they only service a dairy, and I think Bruce is even using them to do the roasting now at this time. So when he
It's
gets
like a big coffee roaster.
a little
Giant.
bigger than that, so.
Giant.
Yeah.
But it's something that's needed in this county, so.
Great.
And we're already doing rail transfer stuff, and we're just trying to make it so it's more efficient, less likely for any contamination.
No, this kind of infrastructure is just what we'll need.
Can I ask a question on the transfer? So what is being transferred in and out? Is it both soybeans and fertilizer?
So right now we transfer out soybeans. In the past year, we've done soybeans, wheat, and fertilizer.
Okay.
We have brought in feed ingredients, but we're just not set up it has to be in an enclosed building to keep any little bit of wind, you're blowing stuff around, and there's too much shrink and it's not good. You don't want people seeing that blowing around either.
Okay.
So 5 years or so ago, the county developed a strategic plan, and one of the strategic goals was agri-technology. And again, does this qualify, would you call this agri-technology, or is this sort of old school but just expanded for application in this world?
It's new technology because the group I was with, the United Soybean Board, we've done a lot of work on this.
Yeah.
These beans.
Yeah.
And they had a group up here last fall that were in a meeting in Syracuse, and they stopped by the farm. And they told me then that the quality, you have to do these soybean roasting right. The steeping period's got to be for so long at a certain temperature. So there's a lot of technology involved in it. If you mess it up, it's worse than feeding the cows no soybean meal. So there's a fine line there. And I was told that Bruce's way he's doing it is one of the best at this time. His quality beans coming out, and this was by some people from St. Louis that said
Good.
his way of doing it was better. So we're hoping that continues. But it is very high technology. I think the computers run these roasters and everything, so it's not something there's some guy there, well, that's been 10 minutes, let's shut it off. We'll start again in 10 minutes. It's very technical. So
It's a lot of paying attention to.
All right, well, sounds great to me.
So this resolution is a little bit different, only because this is a different type of project, being a pass-through grant. So this actually authorizes us to submit the application, and then, should the project be awarded, sort of handle and execute all the contract documents. So there won't be any kind of other resolution that comes before this board related to this project. Obviously, you all would see updates, provided it gets awarded, and, you know, we'd give updates on how things are going. But this is sort of the only approval at this point that's needed. All of the seeker, stuff has been taken care of by the town already with the permitting process. So there's not a need for the IDA to serve as any kind of lead agency like we had to with the other project at the depot, so that, we're all good to go on that front.
So this is basically to approve staff time to.
It's basically the
apply.
grant application itself actually requires a board resolution as part of the application, so it's satisfying that and essentially authorizing us to submit it and handle any other contracts related to this.
Could you just back up for 1 second?
Yep.
So New York State put out a grant saying we want to support passenger freight rail assistance.
Yep.
And Seneca said, they called dibs for a certain amount that Seneca County got. Like, are we doing it so that New York State said, this is what I have for sale. Seneca said, yeah, we can use that. And now we've been
No, we
waiting?
actually, so this is a grant program that's made available basically every year. And so the IDA is an eligible entity, an eligible applicant. So Seneca County isn't awarded any portion of the state funds. We're basically applying on the company's behalf.
So they cannot
for
apply
a state
themselves.
pot of funds. No, they cannot
Okay.
apply themselves.
Okay. I thought maybe with the Army Depot it was different because we had owned the property or we were
No, it was
utilizing
the
it.
same kind of thing. So
Okay.
it's, I think, a municipal government, an IDA, or you have to be an actual railroad company. So Finger Lakes Rail can apply for these grants themselves, and they do for some of their own projects. But in this case, when you have a private company that is not a railroad business that's regulated by New York State, they have to go through another entity.
Okay.
We're serving as that other entity.
And so, just to be clear, the IDA will will receive the funding and remit it?
Yes.
For-
Yeah, it
on
passes
behalf of
through,
Maybury
goes
Bank?
to the company, yes.
Okay. It's
So we
it's
become a
passed through.
conduit then, in a sense.
Passed through. Okay.
Is this project already approved by Finger Lakes Rail? And they're okay with? Okay.
Do we have a motion to approve the resolution yet?
We did not get a motion
All right,
yet.
let's have a motion to approve the resolution.
So move.
And is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? One comment I'd make is that Tom Murray is not here today. He's unable to make it, but he did let me know that he was in support of this application here. So if he were here, I think he would be supportive.
Just to say, I'm going to abstain from voting because I'm going to be selling beans to him.
Okay.
Conflict of interest. So.
Okay, fair enough. Ralph, that's responsible. Roll call vote, Kelly.
Mr. Guthrie,
Yes.
Mr. Cure,
Yes.
Mr. Bruce Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Ms. Weiss,
Yes.
Mr. Lot,
I'm going to abstain.
motion carried.
Very good. It's not a guarantee,
Thank you
it's not
all.
a guarantee they get the money, is it?
No, it's up to the state at this point, but, we'll do whatever we can. The next thing for us is, they're working with a consultant who's helping them get the application together. So it'll basically be ready for us to submit. The thing right now is trying to secure some letters of support from elected officials and things to help bolster that application.
Would there be the option at your facility to dry soybeans from other farms, or is it just to your own farm for
It'll,
potential cross-contamination or whatever?
it'll be from anyone.
There's some of us already have a contract with them for this summer, for the beans we're going to grow this year for next year's harvest.
So to go and roast at his facility?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, we're doing way more than we grow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe you. You look like nice people. I don't know. I was just wondering if that would be something that would be critical or helpful or interesting for other farmers to know, or thinking that it was something that I couldn't work with. I'm a baby farmer. I'm not a big pie farmer. So I'm just trying to think
Believe
of,
me, the farmers know already about it.
I was
So-
just wondering if that was something that would help, that we would want to put in the application, that how far your reach would go. you're getting, so I was thinking like cost benefit analysis thing, I'm like, well, we're getting this much, but we're really not, because it's gonna spread. So how does the cost benefit
With
analysis
this,
work for a
with
bigger
this kind of
swatch?
application, DOT won't care so much about like the farming itself. You know, they are really gonna care about things like reducing truck traffic, and kind of wear and tear on the roads, you know, because we have to think it's a DOT program, so it's wonderful, all the benefits and the widespread reach it'll have for other farmers, but the Department of Transportation,
So you have to,
you know,
you have to spin
like,
it
you
for how it
kinda have
affects the
to-
roads.
yeah. You
So
have
now
to
the mobile
focus
one
on-
doesn't have to travel so far, the farmers wouldn't have to take it to another facility, they can bring it closer,
Yeah.
yada, yada, yada.
Yeah,
Okay.
need less trucks, you know, they don't have to drive out of their way to go to a scale, that kind of thing.
And their person would write that, or we would write that part?
They are writing that part.
Okay, don't forget that part.
The other thing that's gonna happen is there's other places east and west of us that are doing similar things, but there's kind of a void in between, so it gets us closer to the neighboring farms and fertilizer dealers and stuff like that that need
Mhm.
products.
Well, and it sounds like your quality work will stand for itself too.
Try to.
All right, thank you very much, we appreciate it.
Thank you guys for your time.
Welcome.
Good luck.
All right, on to the IDA annual audit, this IDA single audit, management letter and posting to Paris.
On March 11th, the audit committee met with the representation from Mengele, Metzger, Barr, the audit firm. The components of what was reviewed were the financial executive summary for years ending December 31st, 2024 and 2023. The audit report included the following items: basic financial statements and a report on the audit of the financial statements, page 1, which included a clean opinion on the audit. This is something that's very important. Also included was the management discussion and analysis on page 4. Seneca County Statement of Net Position, December 31st, 2024, with comparative totals for 2023 on page 7. Seneca County IDA Statement of Revenues, Expenses, and Changes in Net Position for year ended December 31st, 2024, with comparative totals for 2023 on page 8. Seneca County Statement of Cash Flows for year ending December 31st, 2024, with comparative totals for 2023 on page 9. Seneca County IDA Notes to Financial Statements, December 31st, 2024, pages 10 through 24. Seneca County IDA Schedule of Agency Proportion to Share of Net Position, Net Pension Liability, unaudited, for year ended December 31st, 2024, on page 25. Seneca County Schedule of Agency Contributions, unaudited, for year ended December 31st, 2024, on page 26. Seneca County IDDI combining statement of net position, December 31st, 2024, on page 27. That's a supplemental schedule. Seneca County IDA combining statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position for year ending December 31st, 2024, page 28. That is also a supplemental schedule. Seneca County IDA combining statements and cash flows for year ending December 31st, 2024, page 29, also a supplemental schedule. Seneca County IDA report and internal control over financial reporting, independent auditors report, pages 60 and 61. Seneca County IDA letter communications for year ending December 31st, 2024, pages 1 to 4. That's a separate document. Seneca County IDA communicating internal controls related matters identified in an audit for the year ending December 31st, 2024. We point out the following: current year's deficiencies in internal controls There were no current year deficiencies. Prior year recommendations, there were no prior year recommendations. And finally, the final document was a Seneca IDA single audit report for year ending December 31st, 2024. When all was said and done, motion was made by the audit committee to accept the audit report as presented with a recommendation that it be further ratified by the IDA full board on December 17th, 2025. That's a quick review of what took place a week ago. Thing to remember is a clean audit. There were no significant audit adjustments other than 2 items of minor nature, and a total $16,000 adjustment for the pension liability and pension expense for 2024, along with write-offs of certain assets, capital assets that were, when we transferred to our building to here, there were items that were left over that needed to be removed from the fixed asset ledger, and that was done as part of the audit as well.
So clean audit,
Yes.
good.
So, and I would just add clean audit, but they were very complimentary. They said usually they can go through and nitpick something, and they just couldn't find anything, so.
Well done, well done.
It's a representation of our continuing providing accurate and timely statements to the board on an ongoing basis.
Great. Do we need to vote to accept that?
Yes.
Okay,
Motion to accept?
is there a second?
Second?
This is a roll, any discussion? And it's another roll call vote.
Mr. Guthrie?
Yes.
Mr. Cure?
Yes.
Mr. Bruce Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Shipley?
Yes.
Mr. Lot?
Yes.
Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Capelli? Mr. Brownell? Mr. Tom Murray, absent, motion carried.
Next item.
All right, so the next item is approval of the ABO measurement report. So for those of you who are newer, this will be the first time that you're seeing one of these. But you'll notice that this time of year, we essentially go through some housekeeping items related to our state reporting. The audit is one of those that has to be, put on the Paris system. This measurement report is another matter of housekeeping for the state. So this reiterates the IDA's mission statement, which everybody should be familiar with from when we did our most recent approval. It updates last year where we added housing. This indicates what our measurements were for 2024. So for that year, it was number of projects supported with private capital leveraged, and then local jobs supported, retained, and created. Both of those things are tracked in the annual Paris reports that are submitted. So even though it was a very slow project year, as we all recall and know from our financial statements, if you look at the authority's self-evaluation of prior year performance at the bottom of the page, it indicates that we've supported 27 active projects. Those are the projects that we are submitting Paris reports for. So even though we didn't approve 27 projects this past year, that's how many have been ongoing. Those projects have leveraged over $610 million of private investment. They've retained 2,096 full-time equivalent jobs, 42 full-time equivalent construction jobs, of which 780 were created as a result of the IDA support that they received. Then there is on the back of this page a governance certification, just making sure that the board members have read and understood the authority's mission. The board has the power to appoint management of the IDA, that we have annual governance committee reviews, any of those types of things. So does anybody have questions or comments related to this measurement report?
I mean, again, I could be wrong here, but one of the things the IDA is should be mindful of is this is not our money, this is public money that's being administered here. And there has been, over the years, instances where some IDAs in the state have not treated it as if it were public money, but they've treated it in a way that was not as transparent or above board. That's why the IDA is under the kind of scrutiny it is right now. IDAs in general, it's a good thing, but this is a lot of compliance stuff because there have been instances where everything wasn't handled properly. So we put up with the compliance, but it's part of the job.
Mhm.
Any other comments? Have a motion to approve the measurement report.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? This is a voice vote, not a roll call. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We've approved that.
The next item is approval and review of the updated management plan for our revolving loan fund. So some of you are familiar, although it has been quite a while since we've had loan activity. But our revolving loan fund started back in the 90s. It was partially funded through a federal government award through the U.S. Economic Development Administration. So as part of that, we have to every year do a federal single audit on our loan fund, which Bob has already discussed, and that went smoothly. We have to twice a year submit reports, loan status reports to the federal government on our loan activity. And then the other piece of compliance that we have for managing this fund is every 5 years, we're required to review and update our management plan for the fund. So that is what you see before you is our management plan. The last time we did an update was a small one. It was back in 2020. The board approved a temporary microloan program for emergency COVID assistance. This update essentially takes that out and just reverts it back to our sort of traditional management plan. I'm happy to talk more about what the loan structures look like. Essentially, we did not do any kind of major changes to this because we are in the process of moving toward defederalizing our loan program, meaning that we wouldn't have to do the federal single audit anymore. We wouldn't have to do these 5-year reviews. We wouldn't have to do the, twice a year reporting. We're just looking right now at what our options are in terms of other uses for the funds before sort of providing a recommendation to the board and moving ahead one way or another.
Is there any advantage to staying with the federal structure?
I don't think so, honestly.
Yeah, not that I could see.
One thing that we've talked about in recent years, and they have not been exercising it, but we do have a compliance percentage as far as we're supposed to have a certain amount of loan funds out in the community, and we can have funds sequestered if there's too much sitting in the bank. And we have not been meeting that threshold as long as I've been in the IDA, 5 years now. I think originally they weren't really doing anything because of COVID. They weren't sequestering funds. Since then, I'm not sure why they haven't, honestly. But we've always kind of just been on, at their mercy in regards to that a little bit. So if we defederalize, we don't have that sort of looming over us as a possibility. We could still administer a loan fund potentially through the EDC. If we felt like we wanted to keep it as a program but not have the ties to the federal government, that's a possibility. Another possibility would be to use it for site development. It's really pretty broad and open, but right now the matter before us is, keeping in compliance with our award as long as we have it, so we need to do an update of this plan.
So how it started was the federal government gave Seneca so much funds?
Yeah, I think it was about $75 5% roughly of the funds, so the IDA contributed a portion as well for a local match. And then that's grown, so our total fund now is about 1.1 something million dollars.
And what's our overhead costs for the auditing and the paperwork and all that on an annual basis right now?
Do you know off the top of your
A
head?
little over
what our-
2,000, but it comes right out of the RLF.
But
It comes out of those funds.
No, but what I'm saying is, so if we eliminate the federal reporting requirements,
Right.
it lessens that annual cost.
your fee would be down.
Yeah,
You save $2,000.
yeah.
Because it's just eating it away right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a, a huge cost, but it is a savings if we defederalize.
And where is this money now? In local banks?
Mm-hmm.
Which, all of them, or do you know which ones?
The loan fund we keep in community bank, right, Kelly?
Yes.
So we spread our different accounts to different banks, and we use community bank for the loan fund.
How many active do we have right now?
2.
2.
We have Schrader Farms and Best Made Products.
And they're current.
Those are the two.
They're current.
Questions? Any, want to, make a motion to approve the revised management plan for the revolving loan fund?
Motion to approve.
Any second?
I'll second it.
All right, so all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great, thank you.
Do we need a motion to investigate defederalizing this fund?
No, we're just working on providing recommendations. As of right now, I think the recommendation is gonna be leaning toward using the funds for site development and keeping them in the IDA instead of spinning the loan fund out into the EDC and sort of expanding it. We're trying to gauge how much actual demand there is, because part of it, I think, is our program has been sort of undermarketed. But as we all know, the EDC has sort of been bleeding out money, and we've been deciding, what do we do with that entity? And I think this discussion feeds into that, in the sense of, if we see a need to keep a loan fund, then I think it makes sense to keep the EDC. But it's a matter of, can it be self-sustaining, or is the EDC going to be bleeding out all of these loan funds that we've accumulated over a few decades? And that's not really an ideal scenario. So if there is just not the demand that we need there to be, it may make more sense to keep the funds within the IDA and to use them for other economic development purposes. We're just trying to sort of exhaust the possibilities of, what is the demand or lack thereof for this type of loan program, really.
I mean, the advantage of these loans, though, are that they are well below what market rate is.
They are low interest, so this current plan, we do fixed interest rates. It is whichever is lower at the time, so 4% or 3/4 of prime. So very low interest.
But it's after they've been denied a regular
They
loan.
have to be denied by the
And it has
bank
to
or
fill a gap.
receive a commitment letter that shows that they still have a gap in their project.
And it also is tied to job numbers, $35,000 per job that you create. So you can't get more than that.
I mean, is that part of the defederalizing, though?
We
there
would
not
have
be
the
those requirements?
opportunity, we'd have the opportunity to change it. Best practice is that you would still keep some of that, so there are other entities like us, most of them are not IDAs, most IDAs will use their LDCs to manage their loan funds. But it is best practice usually to have some kind of loan to job ratio. We could change that. One benefit if we were to keep a program but put it through the EDC would be that we could provide loans to retail businesses and other types of entities that are not eligible for IDA incentives. So we're trying to explore those possibilities. The issue right now is that we've not seen the level of interest from the banks as sort of partners in this that I think we would need to see to have actual success in getting the funds out there into the community. So our next order of business is, okay, are there other ways to get this information out into the community and to see if we can, generate more activity? And so we're gonna now try to go directly to the business community and see, okay, what do they identify as their needs? Is that a viable path or not?
So, again, I'm gonna ask Bob, the former banker, still banker, once a banker, always a banker. What's your view of the IDA operating in this area?
I think we do an assessment of what the need is and what we can provide is under this sort of structure. And then it's a matter of communicating this plan or program to the institutions that are serving the community and in the sense of a partnership, that we
With the
make it
banks,
happen.
With the banks,
With the bank.
not independently. I mean, if we defederal,
I think you're gonna need to have a tie-in or a buy-in with the institutions, if it's gonna work. That's my own opinion.
but we could proceed by making these loans without any tie
Yeah.
into a bank. So,
Right, yes.
so we're acting like a bank.
We would never run something that's not a gap financing. So we would never be competing directly with a bank, but we will certainly be more successful if they sort of buy into this as a tool, to help them. This is meant to help them reduce their risk and be able to make more loans.
Yeah, I think like
Well,
Bob is,
the gap number is important here, okay. I mean, if we could focus on just
Yes.
that.
Just a
Yeah.
gap. I mean, the bank will go so far, and this would be the,
I mean, there have been things where we've seen, like serving on the local planning committee for the DRI. There was a project that was not able to get financing because the owners were already so leveraged in their property, and property values in Seneca County are low. It's a good thing until all of a sudden you need to make a big investment, and what the bank is telling you the value of your property is gonna be is not enough for them to justify the financing. So, there may be some needs outside of what our existing loan program is targeted for, like some of these downtown, revitalizing some of our downtowns. But again, it's sort of don't want to make a recommendation to keep something, even if we think it'll be a valuable tool, if we can't make sure that it's actually utilized and active.
Do we know if the county will be doing any type of this program with their new LDC?
I would say as of right now, no. County Planning Department has a revolving loan fund program that they don't want to have anymore. They've not used it in years. So pretty much we're the only one in the county right now with this type of program.
And OVID is the immediate issue and need.
If we defederalize and put it through the EDC, the fact that those businesses are retail all of a sudden doesn't matter anymore.
I know that another one of the IDAs that I attend has the same thing, sort of an unused revolving loan fund, and their plan of action is to sort of break it up and send it out as grants, so that they would be the keeper of the grant, which I'm sure has some fair amount of paperwork to it. So I'm not suggesting that on your guys' behalf. I was just thinking that that's a clever idea, because then it doesn't, you sort of have the money gone, it's out in, I would assume, smaller denominations to a variety of places, and then it doesn't have the sort of, I don't want to say tracking or the follow-up or the loan payment back to you sort of bookkeeping type things. I don't know, I thought it was a clever idea, because I guess their concern was they were worried that there would be a clawback by holding on to it, that it would then disappear. So their solution was to
Yeah.
get rid of it. Now
And
there's nothing to see.
we could do multiple uses potentially. I mean, $1 million is quite a bit, but once you start chunking it up, it gets small pretty quick. We've not had the funds to really seriously pursue any kind of industrial park. It's something that's been on our radar for quite some time. This might finally be a way to start working toward that, shovel readiness for an actual industrial site. Obviously, there has been a significant amount of investment and is still yet to come a significant amount in regards to Willard redevelopment, downtown Ovid redevelopment. So there's all kinds of things potentially that this money could help with. So, we're hoping to provide a few options with ideally a recommendation in one particular direction, but a few options for the board to consider. I would say at this point, we'll be targeting sometime in the summer to make that decision.
Okay, next, Jeff, the Chamber of Commerce update.
Sure. So it's been a busy few months for us. On the chamber side, on the business development side, we have had a pretty interesting last couple of months with our Chamber University program, which is our business learning series. And you don't have to be a chamber member to come to these. It's just a different price structure if you're a chamber member versus non. The last one we had was Wegmans. We hosted Wegmans to our community to talk about how Wegmans builds this workplace culture that has put them on tops of the list for best places to work for many, many years. So I thought that was a really interesting and dynamic conversation. We also had, I know our school superintendent's not here today, but we also had a session where we facilitated all 4 school districts in the county coming together to talk about this new track that the state has built for graduation requirements. And so it's not just the Regents diploma, they're moving away from just a Regents diploma now. And there are some pretty exciting applications for our business community to get involved in, actively involved with the schools, but also to help sort of set what sort of skills and training that they are looking for. So it was a very well-attended session. We had really great conversation with all 4 of the school superintendents, and this is something that we're going to hope to push forward and sort of be a conduit between the business community and the schools. And we think we have a great opportunity to do so. One other update on the chamber side, let's see what date it is. I would like to invite all of you here to we hold these monthly business after hours sessions, and the one in June is the one I want to bring your attention to. So it's the 3rd Wednesday of every month, and it would be June 18th. And that's going to be at the Finger Lakes Regional Airport. And so this is something that we have been working with them for a little while. The Finger Lakes Regional Airport, for those of you that are not familiar, first of all, is owned by Seneca County, and it is a very nice facility. Seneca County is what they call FBO for this regional airport. A lot of investment has been made into that facility over the last few years, last decade plus probably. One of the things that has been sort of this holding point has been the size of the Seneca County runway, the size of the Finger Lakes Regional Airport runway. So it needs to be at a certain length for regional jets to be able to land there willingly with the insurance requirements. And ours is just short. And so for long time, ever since I can remember, we've tried to have this on the FAA's radar because we have to put it into a master plan in order to extend the runway. And so it's one of these chicken or the egg, what comes first? Because the FAA is telling the county, we need to see that there's the activity out there to support extending the runway, and we're saying there can't be the activity here if you don't extend the runway. And so it's been a sort of a really interesting go at it. But that has not stopped the county from moving forward on other opportunities. And one of a really exciting opportunity is the helicopter service company that has been built out at the airport. And those of you that are familiar with it enough probably also know that that's where LifeNet is based out of, the medevac helicopter company. Really, really interesting. My pitch to all of you is to come out, join us on that evening in June and see for yourself the kind of activity that's out there. Because one of the things that we want to do is connect with the business community to say, we could really use your voice of support to help extend this runway. Certainly think of Del Lago, right? All the acts that fly into Del Lago have to go into Penn and then drive up to Seneca County because they can't land here physically.
What's the holdup or what's the obstacle to extending the runway?
So it's got to be part of a master plan that's approved by the FAA. And
Is it a property rights issue? I mean, does the person whose property this extended runway would cover, are they in favor of it?
So there is, I'm sure that there could be some implications potentially for property rights, but the county could, based on the land that they have right now, could extend this runway. But again, you need to have this in your master plan, and the FAA ultimately needs to approve this master plan. And so it's been difficult to get them to put it into the master plan without showing the cause, without showing the justification that this is used for jets.
One of the biggest problems is Peterman Road would have to be closed, at least at the point where it reaches the
Right.
airport property and the other side.
So that's the issue.
But they are, I believe, because we farm the land,
know that
I
there's-
believe they own the ground already. They
They do.
need to do the extension.
They do.
But there was a person on the advisory committee that wouldn't go along with it. He was not gonna let him do it.
An FAA guy or local guy or?
A local guy.
Okay.
A local guy.
We
But
know.
he's since passed away.
Okay.
So that obstacle's gone.
Okay.
But the Peterman Road closure is a big problem, I think, from what I've heard from people. But, it's doable. They own the ground already. It's just a matter of closing the road, putting cul-de-sacs in, and they're ready to go. So, but it's like Jeff said, it's gotta be in a big plan.
How much of an extension is
A
required?
couple hundred feet.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
It's not a lot at all.
It should have been done the last time they did it, when they put the bend in Peterman Road. They
right.
should have go ahead and bit the bullet then, closed the road, cut it off, and it had been done with.
But is it gonna be a problem running jet engines over that neighborhood right there?
It's,
It's already happening.
Yeah.
It's just not
Small
happening,
yeah, there's no houses right there, it's woods.
No, but that's the edge of the village. I mean, there's gonna be a couple hundred feet
I
when
mean,
they're
we're
coming in.
not talking regional jets like American Airlines, right? We're
Yeah.
talking about the jets that would hold six
It's at
people.
least a half a mile or more before you come to the
like a
first
Lear
house.
jet.
Is it?
Right.
That far?
If you look at the runway, if you go straight toward town, there's a long ways of woods. There's a little bit of farm ground in there, I think, but basically, there's no problem. That's not the problem, I don't think.
Okay.
But if we're talking about economic development, right, which is what we're all around this table for, that certainly has an opportunity to help be an aid in economic development for
Well, you
businesses
would
that
think
could land.
Goulds would have a need.
That would
You'd
be
think,
so.
Hobart and William Smith would have a need.
Correct.
Del Lago, obviously.
Correct.
I would think you could prove the need pretty easy.
When I first became a supervisor, they made a big deal about how much jet fuel they sell at the airport, and I'm thinking, you're out of your minds, because I don't ever see jets, and we're right there by it. So I said, there's never jets coming in and out. And she gave us the information. It's unbelievable, at least 4 or 5 a week come in and out of that airport. And when Hobart's William Smith is doing their student visits, there's numbers of them that come in for that alone. And then people live on a lake, they have jets. The people that owned
Angie's
List. They were coming in 2 or 3 times a weekend, bringing people in to stay down the houses they had on the lake. You don't know the number of jets, and if they can extend the runway, it'll make it that much better, so.
Yes. So keep, mark your calendars for that, with third Wednesday in June. Would love to have you come out and take a look at that and learn a little bit more about the airport. Just shifting quickly on the tourism side, also we're coming out with new promotional tools, new promotional advertising for 2025. We're sort of right in the thick of promoting, getting all that underway right now, figured out. Underground Railroad, this was something I came to this board the last time and talked about. And since then, 4 of the 5 municipalities have signed off on bringing the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad Scenic Byway through Seneca County. The last one hopefully will be done at the end of this month, and then we'll move on to the next phase. So that's very interesting. And then we are sort of the purveyors of the information on this new short-term rental law, which is has passed by the state of New York, and the chapter amendments, which was like the amending process, has happened and has been signed. And so now this new short-term rental law goes into effect in November. And basically what that means for all property owners in Seneca County that want to rent their vacation rental out is they have to get a certification number through the county. They have to get this number, and in order to have their house or their property listed on Airbnb or VRBO or any of those other platforms, there's a lot of them now, they will have to show this number to them in order to have their property listed. And so it is definitely going to result in probably a lot more people needing to certify their house, their rental property.
So does that mean an inspection process?
It will result in an inspection process through whatever your local municipality is. Should they have some sort of process set up?
And how many certifications does the county intend to grant?
Well, so that's certainly something that's going to have to be worked out between the towns, because I know that right now there are certain towns in Seneca County that have a cutoff, a maximum amount of vacation rentals that they'll take, and if they reach that, then you're on a waiting list if you want to rent your property. So just because you have a certification number with the county doesn't necessarily mean you'll be able to list your property for rent through the town. But the county theoretically would certify everybody that comes to them, and then the town would have to, then they'd have to move into the town and deal with the town at that point.
Okay.
Sounds like a liability issue to me, that if the town issues a certification and says, yes, this is a place that you can rent, and then something happens, that they're gonna be on the list of liability for somebody suing them, because, oh, you certified that this is a good place to rent.
Well, that's more of a legal question that I am not able to answer, but I would also think the platforms would probably
They do.
be the
The
first
platforms
part of that.
have. My family rents a place, or has in the past, and we had a flood, and I swear those people escaped within an inch of their lives. They thought they were dead. It was down on Lamoureux Landing with the flood of 18, and so I'm acutely aware of the risk. And yeah, they had, my family had done it through, I think, one of those agencies, and they said, oh yeah, we got all kinds of insurance. I said, you don't have enough insurance when people die. So, and the lake water is a hazard too. Kids are going out there, and like this time of year, they're taking boats out. People who don't know how to handle a boat, they're taking surfboards out. They have no idea how cold that water is. So it's a real hazard.
The takeaway though is that this new law goes into effect in November, so that's when this will happen.
Okay.
So,
Anything else?
that's all I
All
have.
right, thank you, Jeff.
I have a question though.
Yes.
I was disappointed to hear that you're going to take down the McKee house.
It's been a very long saga, and
There's no salvaging that building?
No salvaging the
Is
building.
it the
Well,
cost
I
or is
will
it
say the
structural?
chamber is investing into architectural salvage. So there are elements of that building that will be saved and preserved. But the cost of that property was pretty significant from a renovation standpoint, and we just did not get enough help from the state. We didn't get enough help from our partners, so we're going in a different way.
So you're, as I understand it, you're really fixed on that corner property being valuable, but I know we've talked about it because we got to talk about having you down here as a location or different places, but will you really have that much tourist traffic, and will there be that much benefit that you gotta have a location where you can hand out brochures? I mean, do people use that service as opposed to being online?
Well, every community around us, every county in the Finger Lakes has a visitor center, a visitor welcome center, and so.
My question is how, other than the bathroom, how well utilized are they?
Yeah, well, we'll find out, right? We do think that there is a benefit. We think there is, and we've got a valued measure of how much we think that we can help influence traffic when they come here. Based on studies, people that come into a visitor center like this will be able to influence them traveling to up to 3 additional places that they normally would not have gone to. So there is now a dollar value associated with those. So if you multiply those out by the number of visitors that we expect to get into that facility, there is definitely a return.
And I'm not, I'm just arguing the point of trying to
Yeah, no,
preserve
that's
that
fine.
building, and I know you've really looked at it hard.
It's been an issue for 5 years.
Yeah, I
And
know,
the
it's just so, it just,
It's
with,
the water, the ship has left.
with new construction costs,
Ship
it's
is
just hard to
sailed.
believe you can't save that old building, so,
We tried.
The
I
ship's-
will say we tried.
okay.
All right, Jeff, anything else?
That's it, Bruce, thank you.
Ernie's not present. Other business today?
No, I have 2 quick things I will mention though that are maybe a little bit of a county update. So one, I am meeting with the interim county manager later this week. I'll let everybody know how that goes. And then the other one
Who is this
is
person?
Ian Coyle. He was the former Livingston County Administrator. He runs a consulting business basically to find upper level county management positions. So I know Wayne County has an open position. I think he's been discussed as an option to help them try to recruit. I think he helped Seneca County in the past with county manager searches, try to recruit. My understanding is that he's sort of here temporarily, I think as more of a consultant, trying to help the county, figure out maybe what some of their leadership challenges are, and help fill in until they can find a full-time person. So we will see. The other bit is the new county LDC had their first board meeting last week or the week before. I attended that. It went fine. I mean, it basically was their first meeting, so it was just them voting on all of their policies and things, but it does name me as an ex officio member of that board now, so I do not vote, but am there in sort of an advisory capacity. So I'll keep everybody updated as there are.
So their funding
New
is
things.
basically $500,000?
Their funding is $250,000 from the county, and they are charged with updating the Seneca County Strategic Economic Development Plan. That's one of their first orders of business that was conveyed by the supervisors.
Okay. Do we have an executive session scheduled?
No.
Is there any other business? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
We will still need a live stream because we'll be moving on to our EDC Audit Committee meeting, followed by the EDC meeting, followed by the Funding Corp meeting. Anybody that is not on one of those boards is free to
You are
go,
free to
or welcome to stay.
go on this day. for missing the EDC meeting. It was my
That's okay.
failure to quite clearly follow the acronym.
We have had a bit of a scheduling, I know it's been confusing the last few weeks with the scheduling and moving the meetings around, so.
You were missed.
I don't like to do it. Listen, it's a thing I try not to do. I just got my acronyms overloaded.
On that front,
Yes,
are we, like, I had my phone here Tuesdays, right, that come up. Are we meeting, like, still on Tuesday, or is it
Yes.
just whenever people can?
we are still meeting the, second Tuesday at 9 AM as a board. The reason that March is different is because our audit has to be approved and submitted to the Paris system before the end of March. But the problem is because that is, an audit of our previous year, we have to at least get through December and close our books out. So the timeline gets very tight in the beginning of the year. There's not much earlier that we could bring in the auditors and start the process in order to have, say, a second Tuesday of March full board meeting. It just unfortunately wouldn't work with the scheduling. So that's why this month was a little bit crazy.
And I was gonna be out of town for the latter part of March.
Well, so.
Yeah, so that-
Yeah, you weren't the only one. We
Yeah.
were gonna have an issue not just with the EDC,
Right.
but with the IDA having a quorum next week, so that's all right, we're,
All right, well, let's plow ahead.
okay, so let's start with the audit committee for the EDC. It's basically the same thing as what the full EDC board will be voting on in a minute, but that, just for everybody's reminder, is Bruce, Ralph, and Jeff.
Okay, and our first item here is the approval of the minutes from December 10th. Is that correct?
For the audit committee, we have approval of the minutes from September 20th.
Okay, got that. All right.
So
We have a
moved.
motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Voice vote, sorry. Yes, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, so the audit is in the EDC board packet. This one, we just have the summary. It's one page for the EDC. Same thing as the IDA, clean audit, unmodified opinion, there were no issues. Our audit's gotten much simpler since the sanitary's been transferred. Everybody knows we have no real revenue, obviously that means that every year our audit and our other, fees, so it's basically audit, CFO, and insurance are the three major line items in the EDC. Accounted in 2024 for about a $15,000 loss, bringing us to total net assets of $117,142.
With no auto adjustments.
Once again. Thank you. So we need a
Motion.
motion to accept the audit and management letter.
Motion, somebody.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Murray,
Yes,
Mr. Lot,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley.
Yes.
Motion carried.
okay.
Okay. We can call for adjournment of the audit committee.
Motion to adjourn the audit committee.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And now let's move into the EDC board meeting, which is very similar.
Okay, we need to approve the minutes of December 24th. That's the one
So,
here.
Yep.
so moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion carried.
The audit was just approved or recommended for approval by the audit committee.
Okay.
I'm not gonna review
Roll-
it again.
Roll call.
Motion first.
Oh, sorry.
So moved.
Motion
So moved.
to,
Second.
vote.
Mr. Murray,
Yes.
Mr. Lot,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And then the motion to approve the ABO measurement report.
So moved.
Then,
Second.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Other business? Good? No executive session, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now Funding Corp, which is Bruce, Ralph, and Bob.
I think Bob, I don't see that. No.
No, Bruce is the
No,
chair.
I'm the
Bob
chair.
would chair the audit
Audit
committee, yeah.
Okay,
Need approval of the minutes of the meeting of December 10th.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed? So carried. Review and approval of the 2024 Seneca County Funding Corp audit and the management letter.
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote?
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Lot?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Review and approval of the ABO measurement report.
So moved.
Second?
Voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Other business? None?
None.
Consideration of executive session? None? Adjournment?
So
Accept
moved.
a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Gotta be fast, Bob.
That's it. Thank you all.